focus on the thing that's driving your revenue and do that almost to ad nauseum, even boredom if you have to, until you reach a point where you can comfortably financially invest profits into the next phase.
Shane Tatum is the president and CEO behind Integra's multi-generational journey. From a tiny East Texas retail shop to a boutique partner network, helping launch independent agencies across the Southeast and beyond. Raised by a single mom, shaped by an athlete's competitive fire, and later mentored by his stepfather Rex, Shane's drive is rooted in intrinsic motivation and the pursuit of continuous improvement. After the market shocks of the late 2000s, a relaunch of Integra's partner agent program that transformed the business, then Rex's passing forced Shane to confront succession and build a leadership team that could outlast him. As he shifted to working on the business and preaching focus over shiny objects, one question lingered. Could he truly let go of control, especially over marketing, to unlock the next level? Bo Pilgrim Agency Blueprint, very proud, very happy to have Shane Tatum, my good friend, and that I've known for quite a few years now. Very happy to have him on the show today to talk a little bit about the Integra network, his agency, and also the network also that he's built.
Yeah, excited to be here, Bo. Really excited to be on your podcast and to talk about our story, and just appreciate the opportunity and the invitation to come on board.
So Shane, I've known you for quite some time. Good 10 years we've been friends and talked about a lot of different things. And one of the things I know for sure about you is that you're a very driven person. That you've known the type of organization you've been wanting to build for years, and have been just steadily on a pathway of doing that thing. Where do you feel like that drive for you comes from?
Oh man, this is a good question, like really, really good question. And I have an athletic background. I also spent early adolescent years with a single mom. And I don't know, to get really deep down into it and a little bit personal there, I think those two things are very critical in the development of who I am today in terms of just that driven nature. I watch my mom work hard, struggle, kind of just doing life with two young kids. And then at the same time, I've got this competitive fire around sports. Love baseball, love playing all kinds of sports. And that became kind of my passion as a kid. And I see a lot of young adults today that don't seem as driven, and I don't understand it. I see a lot of driven people, but I see a lot of not driven people. There doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground, and I think as I have thought about this through the years, I have to look back and go, wait a minute, there was something that shaped me at a young age to want to be successful, and it's really not a money thing. It's almost like a game, like a constant competition. Like we never reach a level where it's like, okay, I'm good. It just never seems to have worked out that way for me. And that drives a lot of people around me today crazy, by the way. It really, really does.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so. That's what, I don't know how many times I've been in a conversation where people talk about whatever the motivating factor is, and that, sometimes it's some money or something or something like that. But, I think it's similar for me too. It's always been this thing of just trying to prove it to myself. to some extent. I know I was talking with a buddy the other day too, and he said, that was the thing for him. It was always I was always chasing against myself,
Mm.
trying to prove it to myself. And it sounds like that's maybe a little bit of your story too. I mean, the inward competitiveness, but the competitiveness is on his constant path of improving.
Yeah, I think I've heard people talk about intrinsic motivation.
Hmm.
Somebody said that, not, I don't know, in the last 5 years or so of my life, and I'm like, I even heard somebody say, well, Shane's intrinsically motivated. Like, not everybody has that, or something of that nature. And I mean, I know there's a lot of really successful people in this world that are intrinsically motivated. Basically, their motivation comes internalized. They don't need anything externally happening in their lives, or they don't need to read something that says, let's get up and go get it today.
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that. If you can become, and I think it's learned. I think if you can become intrinsically motivated, where you don't need to go to that rah rah event, you don't need to go to that conference
Hmm.
to really want to be successful, to drive your business to the next level, or just maintain and run your business at the level it's at. If you're satisfied with that,
Hmm.
if you can drive that internally and that motivation come from an internal motivation, then I think you're going to win. I think it's the church camp thing, right? Like, you go off to church camp and the kids go off to church camp and everybody's excited and they rededicated their life to Christ. And, 4 weeks later, they're living right back in the same pattern that they were in before they left. And, the peer pressure hits you. As someone who's taught high school boys and been around youth in church, I watch that pattern, and I think that's what happens to us sometimes as business leaders when we go to conferences. Is we
Hmm.
leave that conference fired up, and then a few weeks later we've lost that steam, and that steam's got to come intrinsically. It's got to come internalized.
Hmm. I think some of it, listening to what you talked about your mom there, single mom, when you're growing up and just having to watch her work hard. I think, sometimes we have to have some sort of like I hate to use the word pain, but like a pain almost associated to realize, so that you see that, well, I don't want that, so I need to do this. I need to be motivated. I need to work hard. And that's probably some of it for me. I grew up, I'd say poor, and two parents that worked hard, and they worked very hard. Looking for overtime and whatever other things, but they worked against the clock, and just remember some of the struggles not wanting those things. So it motivated me because it's always me proving to me, um, for that. But it's that pain associated because people that you're talking about, like young boys, and you're trying to train them, or people that youth that go off to church camp and they get excited about their relationship with God and with Christ, and slough off, and it's either just it's easy to get back into the flow of what
Mm,
everybody else is doing because the majority of people are not, definitely not intrinsically motivated.
that's right.
It's a minority. Um, so you've got to two things. One is you got to have some point of pain, I think, and then other is trying to circle yourself with people like that,
Yep.
with intentionality, right?
Yeah, Malcolm Gladwell, one of his books, I don't remember which one, talks about dyslexia, which I do not have, thank goodness, and I don't have any children that my kids haven't had dyslexia, and so I say this very carefully, but he talks in his book about these successful people who experienced dyslexia, and that
Mm-hmm.
was sort of their pain they had to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And they were terrible students. It made them struggle in school, but it made them something different, better. and it was something they had to overcome. You know, whether that's part of when my early raising in life, maybe that was some of my pain. You mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
poor, not really, just kind of taking care of myself so my mom could work
Mm-hmm.
and really growing up quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I would call some of that some of my pain, right? I was a child of divorce, like so many, and in the '80s, I was a latchkey kid, and it was like, I drank from the water hose. I wasn't in bubble wrap, all those things, and so there was, in hindsight, I didn't know any different,
Yeah.
and I didn't see it as pain. But in hindsight, today, there was probably a lot of pain there, and I agree with you. That is a big part of what I think motivates people intrinsically. I was, as a parent, now my daughter, I have two girls, girl dad, unashamed girl dad, love being a girl dad. My girls experienced the fact that, not that I wasn't putting them through pain, so to speak, but they were going to have it better than I did when I was a kid, just because I was successful. There was things that were going on. You know, they grew up in a life environment that was different than my life environment, at least until my teenage years when my mom remarried. And so, you know, I wanted to make sure my girls sort of went through a similar environment, right? Not, I wouldn't call it pain, but they were going to have discipline in their lives, right? They were going to have to work and earn the things that were given. They weren't going to have things given to them. They were going to have to earn their way, earn things. I think the type of parent I was, or still am probably, even though they're in adult life today, is because of my adolescence of a kid and watching my mom parent really well in spite of her circumstances.
Yeah. I know yeah, well said. I think that's important. I think sometimes, you hear about people grew up really poor or just difficult situation. They want to protect their children from that as much as possible, but they seem to lose that thing of teaching them about the reward of going through the difficult things
Yeah.
and about about difficulty. And obviously, yeah, you don't want your children to be in a really difficult uh, way in life where they have pain and they don't know where they're gonna, a lot of uncertainty. But you certainly can, either through sports or through other things in life. You can certainly teach people, right, that there's great reward of doing the difficult thing, and that that you feel like you don't always feel like a winner, but you keep on pushing,
Yeah.
and you're trying to prove something to yourself. But yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of good in that. And unfortunately, when we protect our children too much, we do more harm than good. It kind of is like that. It's like that Andy Griffith episode of the guy that gets in trouble several times. The dad try comes, you know, comes and bails him out, and then and Andy has a conversation with him and just said, you're not doing him any favors by,
Yeah.
he's on doing the same thing, and we wind up teaching the wrong thing that I will rescue you out of it and not allow, but not allow them to learn the lesson that there's difficulty in some things. But so I know, I met your father. Your father's passed now, Rex. The man that raised you, that you mentioned that your mom remarried
Yep.
whenever you said in high school. Is that when it was?
Yeah. I was actually early middle school, and when they remarried, and we moved from the big city of Nacogdoches, Texas, to the
So,
even smaller community of Huntington, Texas, which was like, I don't know, that was a real shock for me. I was literally, even though Nacogdoches is a small town of about 25,000 people, Huntington's a town of about 2,000 people. And so I was the quote city boy that moved in to the small country town. And yeah, I got just put into a really, really good situation where my world reconciled really, really quickly. Went from, single parent to
Yeah.
really having a not just a father figure, but like a man that took me in as his son, and that I ended up calling dad, and lo and behold, um, in 1983, when I was right before they married, or right around similar time, he bought this little small town insurance agency, and of course I didn't know anything about it when I was 10 or 11, 12 years old. And it turned out that that little small town agency that he bought, right as he was either marrying my mom or somewhere right in that time period, just turned out to be this incredible launching pad for me and my career and our business, and what has turned into a multi-generational, now independent agency organization. And so really, really cool story, and really, really incredible thing. So that was 83. And then I joined the agency business, which was not much of a business. We had about 1.8 million in premium, and I think probably about 70% of it was in surplus lines. And so there just wasn't much there. And that's what I walked into in 1995 as a 21-year-old college grad with all the knowledge of the world. And so that's where I started.
That's funny. That's funny. That's what I thought. I thought it was that you went straight from college to there. Well, obviously, Rex is your father.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously he had a great deal of influence on you also, and I would assume that some of that work ethic that you have was not just demonstrated by your mom doing what she needed to do, but also Rex. I met him. He's a very impressive man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very, very much so. I think what was initiated by my mom and watched by me was reinforced and amplified by dad, Rex. And yes, he was a very hard worker, was kind of a entrepreneur in his own right. He started this wholesale nursery right out of college when he was like
Really?
22 years old. Yeah, he had this. He ended up being a wholesale grower of landscaping shrubs. He had about when he sold it right before he passed in 2015. It was growing across 26 acres. He
Wow.
grew, I don't know, it was like a 500,000 buckets of plants.
That's great.
It was
That's a lot.
really
26
impressive.
acres is big.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you start thinking about, like, I'm not talking about, he had some small trees, but I mean, like, you build a house and you want to landscape your house, or you need new landscaping. So think azaleas,
Mm,
um, ligustrum, just ground covers. He sold those to retailers.
yeah.
And I actually was his sales rep for a few years, and actually picked up a couple of larger box store accounts. Learned how to sharpen my sales skills within that part of the world. Didn't know anything about plants, which was which
Yeah,
was
they're green in there in a bucket, and you can buy it.
I
Right? That's
mean,
all you need to know.
how hard can it be, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, is it 1 gallon or 3 gallon bucket? There's prices X or
Yeah,
Y.
1 gallon is this much. Three, yeah, three
That's right.
gallon is this much. What do you want? How many do you want?
That was a business, ironically, the first business he ever started, and it was a business he held on to until right before his passing. And he knew that my brother and I and my sister, and he knew that we were not going to want to be in that business. He knew the insurance business was where we were going to be, and he knew we weren't going to be in that business. And so, luckily for us, he sold that business, and we didn't have to deal with that. But I mean, it was his passion. Like, he loved being outside, and
Mhm.
he loved the cow business. He loved anything that would take him outside. And I think he was a banker, ironically, by trade.
Hmm.
Very similar to me in that he was a finance major in college, and was really good with numbers. And he ended up running Huntington State Bank here, which ended up being a really nice sized community bank. He ran that for over 20 years. And so, very successful small town businessman.
Mhm.
And, because of his banking responsibilities and his first business he started, the insurance business became really kind of orphaned a little bit, and
Mhm.
it gave me an opportunity to have my own space, which he was really good at giving me space to kind of fulfill my own entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember you telling me several other times, like different conversations y'all have, and kind of told me the origin story of where you're at now, because you're not that small independent insurance agency that's mostly mostly E&S policies anymore. Um, you've expanded a pretty good bit. Okay, two questions. I guess just, I mean, as much as you want to talk about a little bit of where you're at now, and then also when was that kind of that defining moment when you just kind of like all of a sudden realized like, huh, we can really build something here.
Yeah, you know, June of 95 was when I started. And kind of back a little bit to my dad before I go forward. It was, here's the accounting. Please take it away from me and make this go away. Here's payroll. All the things that he hated that he was having to still
Uh-huh.
do himself, um,
Uh-huh.
which in hindsight, obviously, taught me every single thing about our business.
Hmm.
And it wasn't just learn how to sell insurance, get licensed, go to producer school. It wasn't just that. It was every aspect of our business. And there's nothing that I haven't done. Probably,
Hmm.
very much like yourself. Like, there's just nothing in the business that I haven't actually done myself. And there's a lot to be said about that, right? And I encourage agents today to be that way. Like, because that's why, is because of how I learned the business. And for probably 3 solid years, maybe four, I produced business. I was the local agent. I was doing everything that a traditional independent agency was doing. This was the late 90s, so specialization wasn't as big of a deal then as it is today. And I was a generalist. I wrote some personal lines, I wrote some commercial, kind of a jack of all trades. And I was moderately successful. And I was so, like, not fulfilled.
Hmm.
And it was just like, okay, something's off. And I really found myself in this place where it was this constant struggle with the insurance carrier partners, where we couldn't feed them enough. But we had all these contracts, because of where we're at geographically. We're in an area that a lot of insurance carriers were profitable. And so it was really easy for us to pick up an insurance company contract. Um, but it was very difficult because of where we were, kind of the double-edged sword, because we couldn't feed them. We couldn't get enough production without really getting creative, and what should we do? How can we do better? How can we get enough production? And in the late, probably 98, October, November 98, just started thinking, how many other agents look like us?
Mhm.
And are there other agents that look like us? And I read this PIA study, Professional Insurance Agency study, which was a trade association. At the time, it was on clusters. It was called clusters. It was before agency networks, and aggregators, and franchises were a thing. And it just sparked something in me. Like, I loved it. I fell in love with it. Number one, I loved meeting people. I loved talking to people about the insurance agency business. And this was an opportunity to meet other agents, see what other agents were doing. And so we put our first version of our agency network together, which looked a whole lot different than the current version, but it was go around to other small town agents and see if we could help them sort of wholesale markets to them, help them with that same carrier access that we struggled with. And we spent about 5 years peddling a handful of companies around Texas, and eventually Louisiana. Eventually, we met you through that process. And Safeco, Liberty Mutual now, in 2002 and 2003, really helped us take off.
Mhm.
And that became kind of this launching point. I still didn't know what I was doing. We didn't know, we weren't very good at what we were doing. We were moderately successful. In our mind, as a small town insurance agency, we were incredibly successful because we'd never written that much premium in our lives. And
Yeah.
we actually thought we had arrived. Um, and then the market turned in 2006, 2007, 2008. Then we had the housing crisis, 2008. And so it kind of just started churning, and business was not staying, and it was going out the back door, and we were having trouble with just the agents that we were working with, and really went back to the drawing board. And in 2010, we relaunched with what I call our partner, what we call our partner agent program. And that program changed the game for us. It was the model that has taken us to where we are today and where we continue to grow and expand out of. It kind of fixed the leaks
Mhm.
of the first program, and it really kind of just created a much better model for both our care insurance company partners and for the agents that we were working with. And it just changed the game totally for us and who we were.
Mm. Oh, nice story. Yeah, it's a good story for agents that are in small towns. I'm in a small town too, not quite as small as Huntington. I've got 4,000 in mine. You say I don't qualify anymore though because we got a Walmart.
You have a Walmart, you don't qualify. If you have a Walmart, you don't qualify.
Yeah, it still feels mighty small. I think it's probably because we got a four-lane interstate, not interstate, but highway that comes through our town. The well, thank you for sharing that. You know, I want you to just kind of like, in our journeys, we go through highs, we go through lows, and you kind of shared a little bit about that, some of the problems in figuring out the program. What was a time that you can think of where just, you know, um, it was like a pivotal moment that you really felt like that really shaped and kind of changed the trajectory, or maybe really set the trajectory to where you're at now.
Yeah, I actually kind of have two.
Mhm.
And the first one was around 2013, 2012, 2013. Met this guy named Bo Pilgrim. I'm kidding. Not really. I just had to do that. It was around 2012, though, 2013. We had really we really weren't sure who was going to be attracted to this program. We thought it was going to be good, but we were like, who is our target customer? Like, who should we be talking to? And one of our former insurance company reps had retired. Her name was Helen Bailey. And I tell this story a lot. And Helen had come back around and was bored in retirement. And I told her about our program. And she was like, I think I got some people that would be interested in this. And can you give me a few days? I'll call you back. And she called me back and she's like, I got some guys that want to talk to you. And so turned out that our program was a really good fit for agents in the exclusive agency model. So think State Farm, Allstate, Farmers, to go independent. It turned out to be a really good plan if those guys wanted to get out of the exclusive channel and start in the independent channel. It also turned out to be a really good fit for producers who wanted to start their own agency. And some of those things go hand in hand, producers of exclusive agencies. And so that was a really pivotal time because we had about 35 agents over the course of 2 years just fall into our lap through referrals. And most of those agents are still with us today, almost 15 years later. And that was kind of the first little, hey, we might have something. And then the second level was 2017, 2018, when 2015, my father passed away after a battle with cancer. We spent most of 2016 kind of trying to figure out the world, like what's the world look like without, the patriarch, everything that goes with the, grieving, the loss of especially someone like my dad, who was very important man in our community. I mean, he was the banker, right? Like he was the guy that helped everyone financially in that way. And I remembered a conversation with him towards the end of 2016, about a year after he had passed, about needing to figure out what happens if something happens to me. Because it was always him or me, and we had each other's back. And if something happened to him, I was there. If something happened to me, he was there. And we had these really crazy conversations that typically started with this phrase: if I get hit by a bus, I don't know why, but that's what we did. It was literally like, that's the
because we're sure that's going to do it.
If I get hit by a bus, this is what I've got going on. And so there was no one. Now it was like, well, if I get hit by a bus, my family's in trouble. Not only my family's in trouble, but my mom, my siblings that were yet to be at the level they are today. They're a lot younger than me. People who were dependent on our business, my family, it became very, very heavy. And it was that conversation. And I decided, after much study, much prayer, I mean, a lot of prayer, I had this really clear discernment that I needed to build a leadership team. And I needed to move that heavy burden of responsibility from just me to a multitude of people who had responsibilities for areas of our business. And, I spent a couple of years there really building the leadership team. I am very fortunate. Those individuals that between 2017 and 2019 that became a part of my leadership team are still with me today. And that's pretty rare to have people on your leadership team who haven't left you as they become more, I guess, known in the marketplace. Like, I'm sure people have tried to come get them, maybe offered them more money short term. I don't know. But I just have, so far, knock on wood, I've been very blessed to have a stable leadership team. And that was a really second level point where I'm like, okay, not only do we have something, but we have something we can really, really build. And we might can even make this multi-generational if we do it right.
The necessity of having that conversation because of what was going on with Rex. I know he was battling cancer and passed, and I think he said 2015.
Mm-hmm.
That pushed you into a decision you had to make of bringing in other decision makers.
That's right.
Basically, so that if you were gone, something happened to you next, the bus got you out in front of Huntington, the Huntington Insurance Agency office. That I guess it had been a school bus, but
Yeah, be a bus.
or a garbage truck maybe.
Or a log truck, maybe a log truck.
Yeah, maybe a log truck. But you had to push into this decision to really turn over parts of the business to people that you knew could step in to even a deeper position if you have to leave. That's pretty terrifying to a lot of people to do that. What is kind of maybe, did you have to wrestle with that part emotionally of, I need to be able to trust these people to this degree? Because that's a really deep amount of trust to go to that point of trusting people with this. I mean, because it's your baby, right? I mean, really, I know your dad kind of gave you the idea, but I mean, this really is your baby.
Yeah.
And then here you're at this phase where you're having to really deeply trust this group of people, thinking about the what if, the big what if, right?
Right. Terrifying, absolutely. Not easy. And my team will tell you, our leadership team will tell you that I still have back and forth moments with this. So I think the thing that I would say to other business owners is, do not listen to me and think, well, he did that and now the world is peachy. Like, now it's easy. Like, I wake up in the morning and have coffee and then twiddle my thumbs all day. Like, number one, that's not real. And don't believe the people selling you that. So, when you are the founder, the CEO, the entrepreneur, and you've created your business baby, it's hard to let go of that business baby and put it in someone else's hands. And I keep in mind, I put it in multiple people's hands. I did that intentionally, a little bit at a time, across multiple people. It took a while, took several years. I also struggled and have had some of those people say, hey, I need you to let me do my job. I need you to get out of the way. You're actually clogging us up. You want me to do this, and you tell me I'm responsible, but you're not giving me the authority because you're hanging on to the authority.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lesson I learned the hard way. You've If you give responsibility, you got to give authority. You can't give responsibility without authority, and you can't give authority without responsibility.
Oh yeah, 100%. I did a talk about delegation and about how we get in our own way. And and one of my points is that don't give tasks, give responsibilities. Because when you give a task, it's like you're giving a responsibility, but you're not giving the authority for them to be able to own it to make decisions. But whenever you're giving a responsibility, give the also them the authority, then it's like theirs, and they want to prove that they can do it
Mm-hmm.
and work, and they'll work hard. You hire right and you got the right people in that position, it works fantastic. If you give somebody a task and you keep that authority part of it where they don't have any ownership in it, then you basically just give yourself this endless list of things to do, because every time they're going to be scared to make a decision and make a mistake and keep on coming back to you, and you wind up giving yourself just another job. But I know also for me, listening to you talk about it, I know I've been there. We have a hard time letting go, and I can't tell you how many times I've apologized to my leadership people, say I overstepped
Yeah.
and I shouldn't have, and then I back out and apologize, and sometimes and usually I mess it up, or I don't know the full picture or something, but at the core of it is I'm overstepping the trust that I've given to them, and
Right.
showing that there's a lack of trust there with me, and it's a problem with me. It's not a problem with them. It's a problem with me. But whenever you hire somebody and they tell you like what you're saying, your leadership people told you, you know, those are some very proud moments. I know for me,
Sure.
whenever you see that, because like, well, yeah, you're a little bit humbled because, well, yeah, I overstepped. I shouldn't have done that. But they're telling you they want it. And I know I've told business owners, I don't know how many different times, they're like, well, who do I give this to? There are people that love you, that are working on your team, that want to take things from you. You just need to give them permission.
Yeah.
Um, so you would agree with that?
I would. I would agree with that 100%. I also would say, and kind of piggyback on that and say, as most founders start out by themselves. I mean, the reality of it is that the majority of businesses that start in at least in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
their start as a one person. Nobody has any money to hire anybody. That like they don't start with a bunch of capital and all of a
Right.
sudden out of nowhere there's 10 employees. Like that's not what happens.
Right.
Um, and they do entrepreneurs, founders do everything at first.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one of my biggest mountains to climb, and it's still a struggle, is giving myself permission to let someone else do what I've hired them to do. Like almost like feeling bad. Like I know that sounds ridiculous. Like when I say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous.
No, not to me. I wouldn't think to probably most people watching this either. I wouldn't think so. I know I had a really long conversation with somebody at G3X, and we're talking about the delegation and stuff like that. And so he asked me, he said, "Well, when do you stop feeling guilty about that?" And I said, "Brother, I don't know." I said,
Yeah.
I'm better, but there's still times I feel
Yeah.
guilty.
Yeah.
But you're constantly having to train yourself on what work means for you, because work has to change drastically. Yeah, as you talked about at the beginning, when you first start, you have to do all the things in Integra, and I know in Reed, I've done everything here. I've even cleaned the building.
That's
I've
right.
pressure washed the sidewalk. I've done everything. Uh, Thank the Lord I don't have to do a lot of those things anymore. But uh, but you have to start off there and then you grow. But how you think about what you need to do at every stage of your business has to change as far as what work means.
Yeah.
And there's this small window of things that you're wanting to constantly push deeper and deeper into, as the leader, right, in your business, so that you're able to keep on moving it forward. Um, Thinking back about that transition, a couple of different stages, but really the biggest one is whenever you made that shift to the leader, having this leadership team. I know also it seems like that was really a big momentum change for
Yeah.
Integra, Integra the agency, but also Integra the agency network. I mean, I know
Correct.
both of them really were big shifts. What are maybe a couple of if you could just boil it down and just say, here's a couple of different just leadership things that I learned during that season, that you could
Yeah.
share.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned a little bit, work is different for the CEO, for the company owner, founder. I put all those in one bucket.
Mm,
I don't know. I hope everybody gets 8 hours of sleep at night. I probably don't average 8 hours of sleep. I don't know. As I've gotten older, maybe 6.5, 7 is good. I don't know. But just start doing the math. I don't know very many company owners, business owners, who don't think about their business about 16 hours a day, 15 hours a day, um, 7 days a week.
yeah.
You can tell me that you turn it off when you go home, but I'm going to tell you I don't believe you. And I think that one of the things that I learned through putting a leadership team in place was that I had to give myself permission to not feel guilty for leaving early
Hmm.
one day or coming in a little later.
Hmm.
Because what I started recognizing is I get up around 5:15 every morning. That's just what I do. And I do work, some work. I do, Bible study. I do a little quiet time. I do a little bit of email work, maybe do some thoughts, notes taking. I drink coffee with my wife, and I mosey into the office around 8:30. That's my morning. And I had to learn that thinking is working.
Hmm.
And if I'm an Xer, raised by boomers. If you're not sitting at your desk, you're not working. That old mindset. And I had to give myself permission to understand that I was actually mentally working about 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was okay to not be the first one at the office. It was
Hmm.
okay to take an afternoon off.
Yeah.
Um, and because you know what? I'm going to make up for it. If I'm just got to be that hard headed, time is money guy, I'm I'm sitting on a tractor now. I'm thinking about my business, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm baling, if I'm taking some hay out to the cows, my siblings and I are in the cow business together now, and kind of rekindled my dad's love for the cattle business,
Hmm.
and going and feeding hay is very soul fulfilling. I don't know. It's just really good. And I enjoy stuff like that. But I'm still working. I'm thinking. I never quit thinking about my business. And I don't know many business owners that don't. And so that's a big thing that I learned was my work might look different than it did 10, 12 years ago, but just as important, more important actually, because now I spend about 80% of my time working on my business, not in my business.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a couple of things from that. One of it is knowing the time that you're in, but and how much you actually have to be in it versus how much you really should be working on it, and intentionally embracing working on it.
Yeah,
And also, yeah, really, the second thing is really understanding that your work changes. It's all that strategic thinking. Whenever you're first starting off, if it's an insurance agency, you're first starting off, there's only one thing that matters. It's another sale.
that's right.
You got to just sell and sell and sell and sell and just get the revenue so that you can go to the next and the next and the next until you aren't doing that anymore. Um, but as you're growing, you don't have much to think about other than just that. Obviously, you get to that point where it's time to hire. You need to do some strategic thinking of like, okay, what kind of position do I want to fill?
Yeah,
But still, you feel it, you get them trained, and then you're just right back to it. It's still all about the next sale, and retaining. But it gets to some point where, as the business grows, well, also the problems or the situations, I guess maybe I should
that's
say,
right.
opportunity for that grows. So you need to be able to sometimes just spend some time thinking about things, or being able to watch the trend of what's happening in your business, so I need to get ready to do this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I think that's probably a couple of things that you can pull out of those two things. So let's transition a little bit to talking about just like where y'all are at now. In your little town of 2,000 people, Huntington,
yeah,
doing some cows too.
yeah.
Uh, the what does I know you talked about your leadership team now. So what does uh, you know kind of walk me through the team structure now that you've got, and kind of like who's doing what,
Yeah.
so to speak, like agency or whatever. You don't have to get into too details, but just so that people understand maybe structural organization, I
Yep.
guess is what I'm trying to get to.
Sure. Yeah. So we're basically one organization, but within that one organization, we have, profit centers or focal points. And, the two big dividing lines um, are what we call our retail operation or retail agency, and then our partner network. Those are the kind of the two pillars, primary pillars.
Hmm.
The retail, when I call reason I call it retail is it is the agency, the original agency that I talked about earlier, that my dad purchased in '83 and that I joined in 1995. Less than 2 million in premium at the time, and that retail operation primarily works and operates in East Texas. That's eastern part of Texas. Very, very traditional. Um, you know, 60, 55, 60% personal lines, 45, roughly 40, 45% commercial lines. Got a couple of niches. Um, does about 16 and a half, 17 million in premium. Has 12 employees. And one of those leadership team members is our retail director, managing director of our retail operation. And so that's one of my leadership team members is she runs our retail operation. That original retail operation was our first partner agent, is kind of the way we see that through the lens.
Hmm.
So it is a partner agent of the agency network, right? We're very, very focused on not competing in the same marketplace as our partners, which is why it's pretty much East Texas focused. And then you have the agency network, which today is right at 140 agencies, partner agencies that are a part of the agency network. Um, Mostly Texas, Louisiana, but we do have a couple of agents in Georgia, a couple of agents in Alabama, and we've recently launched in 2025 we've regionalized our agency development team. We have a Southeast region managing director. We have a Northeast region managing director and a Central region managing director. So all three of those individuals are part of our leadership team as well. And while home base is still the largest, we are actively expanding across the southeastern and northeastern U.S. And so as we kind of look at it as a boutique operation, boutique agency network,
Mm-hmm.
there are plenty of agency networks in the market
Mm-hmm.
that are larger in terms of number of partners, number of members, maybe in premium volume. But ours is more around, relationship. We are very, very focused on the right partners. We primarily today, we help individuals start new independent insurance agencies. We have a few that come over from as established agencies, but the majority, I would say upwards of 95, 96% of our partners started with us after coming over from either the captive system, the exclusive agency system, or they were not owners, they were producers, and they wanted to start their own agency, and they did that in partnership with us. And so you have multiple leadership team members within the partner network. One of those happens to be my wife. She's our accounting manager, and she's been that for 26 years. We have been married a little over 30 years, 26 years we've worked together, and I love to joke, we are still married. Um, it really works really well. She's the most organized person I've ever met in my entire life, which makes her perfect for keeping up with money. Right?
Yes, yes,
And,
for sure.
you know, God ordained our marriage because he saw that I needed that. He saw that I needed Julie in my life. Like there was
Uh,
no way I was ever going to be, I would not be alive today. I'm pretty convinced if it wasn't for Julie marrying me 30 years ago. So,
so you need that much help, huh?
I did. I needed a lot of help. When a sales and marketing guy um, is running the business, you need somebody with the reins to the horse to say, whoa, a lot. Hey, hold up. You need to check yourself here. Um, and so, in the last little bit of our leadership team are what I would call ancillary businesses that are a part of the network that are only really related to the fact that we have the agency network. We have a premium finance company that my younger brother runs. He's also obviously on our leadership team as well. And then we have what we call our partner solutions area, which is technology, vendors, really training, learning for our agency network. And that part of the business is run by my sister, who is a former teacher, and ironically has her master's degree in education and did her thesis on learning across generational divide. So how to teach and train from
Across the generation.
boomers to Gen Z and everywhere in between. So she's
Yeah,
extremely
that's a
talented in
challenge.
that. Yeah, yeah,
That's a serious challenge.
yeah.
Kylie's got her work cut out for it. It's the sister he's referring
Yeah.
to. So what? So so even though you've got this leadership team in place and that's handling these different pieces of the business, profit centers, or different parts of the organization that are there because you've got the network. You know, uh, it's still a constant learning process of managing your time and trying to keep from leaking time. I know I still leak time.
Absolutely.
Um, what are some things that still for you or where you still are leaking time each week?
Yeah. Right now, I did a really, really, I don't know, semi dumb thing about 6 months ago that eventually I'll have to rectify. I asked our marketing director to take on the Southeast region because she lives in Pensacola, Florida, and
Mm.
Florida is kind of the anchor state for the Southeast region. And so, logistically, strategically, it makes a whole lot of sense. Except I decided to take marketing back personally. I'm still bridging that financial gap myself, um, and that's kind of one of those statements. We have 41, 42 employees, um, four of which are IA Blueprint virtual employees for us, and we are. I'm still in a space where the right decision, I believed and still believe, was that I needed to get my hands dirty back with our marketing and our direction and where we were going from a marketing standpoint. And I know I'm leaking a lot of time because of that decision. However, kind of, getting down a little bit into if I did not have that, if I wouldn't have done that. Man, and you preach it all the time, Bo. Block scheduling, email management, um, just managing your calendar. Like, I know there's a lot of leaky time
Mm.
in my
Mm-hmm.
day because I'm still not planned out well, right? And I still
Mm-hmm.
don't have that piece of the puzzle just solved. Um,
Mm-hmm.
some of that's my own personality, and
Mm-hmm.
some of that's the constant thing that I'm really always working on. I'm always trying to work on myself with is just trying to discover where those spots are. Like, they get away from you, you don't even know it. And
Yeah.
you just end the week like, what happened? Like, what, how is Friday already here? Like, what happened? And
Yeah.
you need that. The weekend now is that mental reset, right? Like,
Right.
okay, I
Yeah, we
get,
gotta get back on track.
I gotta,
I gotta get back on track by Monday.
I gotta do some work this weekend to get ready for Monday so I can get better. Like, that's just one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I know I talk to a lot, and I know you do. 'Cause I know you're very gracious with your time with a lot of agents, and to talk through them as they're going through different cycles of their growth. And you've got agents that are in your network that are anywhere from scratch to starting to they've got you know 10 or more employees, and they're at different stages. But still, you have all these different conversations. But I know I talked to a lot that still they're doing certain things on the weekends or at night, whatever,
Mm,
and they're disengaged from their family.
mm.
And then, but even, and it doesn't seem to matter what phase that they're in their business where they do those sorts of things. What are some of the biggest common things, no matter what the stage is, that you still see business owners and agencies are doing that they really should give up to somebody somehow, outsource it, something. There's tons of services now. You can outsource almost anything.
Yeah.
You know, you can hire a VA to do a lot of things, but then there's just fractional services too.
Yeah. a really funny story. My sister, one of my sisters, that's not in the insurance business, she runs a business that we invested in, really long term for her benefit. She runs actually like a little quick lube center, a little oil change business in here in our small town. And we were recently, she lost a really key person a couple of months ago, and she was kind of panicking. And she's a 5 foot nothing little 110 pound 5 foot nothing blonde girl in the oil change business. And it's like,
Yeah.
she's like, I don't know if she can actually change oil. Like, she knows how to do this. And she's, but she's not tall enough to get to the
To
place.
reach.
So, so we've been talking through some of those challenges, and she has two really good employees that are still with her, and she has this part-time employee, and we just started talking about things like that, right? Like, it wasn't even in the insurance agency business that brought me back kind of to this question, because insurance agency owners do this to themselves all the time. Um, I made her sit down over the Christmas holidays and make what I call a stop doing list. And I talk about this a
Yeah.
lot. You've heard me talk about this a lot. Um, I think that's always step one. What are the things that I'm doing that maybe shouldn't be doing, but I've been doing it for so long that I think I have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And so I think that was one. Like, one of them was really simple. This employee that she had was mowing and keeping the outside of the parameter of the shop up to speed
Mhm.
for $200 a month on a business that generates $500,000 a year in revenue. She can hire somebody to mow and blow off the parking lot. And it was just like, she couldn't get past that mental block that it was that simple. Because she was like, and I'm not, I mean, it's just my sister, I'm picking on her a little bit. It's like, that little simple thing
Yeah.
was just this walled off thought. And I think for insurance agency owners, we have a lot of that too. Like, we can't see the forest for the trees type stuff. Like, we just get locked into the things that we think we have to do, and then we don't do it. And then we just, we get completely overwhelmed. I think, one, being present is really important. I talk about this with insurance agency owners a lot. When you go home, don't go home and immediately open up your laptop and start working again. Like, I know your mind, in the back of your mind, is, your business and things you've got to get done. But you need to spend that time with your family. You need, your spouse, your kids, if you have kids, be at the ball games, whatever. You've got to do those things first. That's why you got in this business in the first place. That's why you took this leap. Don't forget why you took this leap. And I think there's a lot of things, once you get past the stop doing list, that are things that, and you didn't pay me to say this, but this is just the facts. There's a lot of things that a virtual assistant, that a virtual employee can do that they love to do, that insurance agency owners cannot stand to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And I think there's a trust element, there's a comfort element. I think your business would be a lot easier to explain to people if it was 50 years ago when everyone had a secretary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we haven't had, quote, secretaries or administrative assistants because of technology. I've never had one.
Yeah.
And now I have multiples. And you we don't even know how to work with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know?
think it's yeah, some of it is just they start the business, and I mean, that's a really big decision that they make when they start a business because they've got a income stream.
Yep.
Usually they got a family, and then they take this leap into this thing, and a lot of times they're just really good salespeople.
Yep.
They're tired of making money for somebody else. They're ready to start making money for them and for their family. And they don't realize all the things that are attached with the business. And they get in there and they get in this mode of just having to do it all themselves, and they fail to change gears. Like that moment that you talked about where you're like, okay, I am losing my father. I've got to figure out what happens if something happens to me. And then the answer was this leadership team. And it was some pain. Obviously, you talked a little bit about the pain part of going through that, of just you reconciling some different things within yourself and developing that trust level. And it's a hard transition, I think, for most people to transition from what if I do it all myself, I know I can trust that it's good, but they overlook the fact of something you said is that there's things that they just really don't like to do, and the reality is they're really bad at them. I believe with a very few exceptions that God did not make people who are excellent salespeople to also be excellent at processing applications and
That's
paperwork
right.
and all that mundane stuff. Because to them that is mundane, but to the person that just loves that sort of stuff, they love that, the paper and the processing and whatever else, and they hate doing the sales piece. It's just God makes us with, I mean, there's very different skill sets you need for each one of those, right? You talk
That's right.
about you and your wife, her being organized and managing the money versus you're the thought guy and the the salesman and the marketing guy. And we we short ourselves so much by not accepting that and then hiring for those weaknesses. I know that's something that we hear about too.
Hmm.
You read enough books or podcasts or whatever else is, when you hire, you want to hire to your weaknesses, which is that whole theory, that whole principle of hiring to buy back your time.
Yep.
Buy,
Yep.
use that money to pay for somebody to do those things that you don't enjoy doing, that you're not good at, and then free yourself to do more of that stuff you're really good at, and then just how much faster you grow.
Yeah.
And I think there's a testimony in your business on both of them, the agency and Integra partner agent network, where both of them grew significantly after that. So Tara is now your agency manager, and I know it took a massive shift up. I know it just started
Absolutely.
growing faster,
Yeah.
but in both
It
sides.
tripled in size in
Yeah.
during her tenure. Like when someone put focus into it, I mean, it just became incredibly, and just at the same time, the partner network has done even more than that. We what's really funny, ironic, and really a little bit of a tragedy is that as agency owners, for whatever reason, as typically we're the rainmaker, the salespeople, that's who
Hmm.
starts insurance agencies. While it is 100% correct that we should be hiring our weaknesses, what we want to do is hire more of ourselves. Like we want to, oh, if I just go replicate myself, I'll I'll have two of me, and then I'll have a third and a fourth and a fifth, and we'll be this incredible machine. And on paper, you write that down. Like you think, okay, there's your answer. The problem is that everything you do as an agency owner, my experience, is in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Your processes are in your head. And then you hire someone and they drive you mad because they don't do it the way you do it,
Yeah.
right? And they don't know because you didn't train them because it's in your head.
Right.
And so,
Right.
um, you know, you talk about practical things. Stop doing lists.
Mm-hmm.
Get all your stuff out of your head, right? Write down your processes. Understand so that, or even better, hire someone, hire a virtual assistant that can help you get it out of your head, right? Um,
Right.
hire those gaps, hire those weaknesses. And I am all for the rainmaker hiring more rainmakers. But before you can do that, you got to get the infrastructure in place and the processes in place and the people who are going to help those rainmakers,
Mm-hmm.
yourself being first and foremost, be able to do more of what they do well. And if you hire another rainmaker and you expect them to do what you've been doing as an agency owner, they're not going to be successful and they're probably not going to stick.
Right. Right. And I think you just compound your problems too, because if you got just an organization of nothing but salespeople, you don't have any service people,
That's
you're gonna
right.
be losing stuff out the back door. Plus, also your paperwork's gonna be a mess. Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. So let's I guess let's wrap up with this. We talked about a lot of different things. Let's close off with two things. First thing is, you know, Shane, where you're at now versus Shane in the first few years that you first went to work for your dad and started thinking about where you were going. What is a couple of lessons that you wish you'd have known back then that you feel like would have even taken you maybe further, or maybe you'd have ended up in the same place, but maybe you just wouldn't have gone through so many pain points?
I think this is a really good question. And I think everybody needs to ask, to know this and ask this question of themselves. We were shiny object chasers,
Mm-hmm.
um, new opportunity chasers. I was the king of all that. um, I think what I would love to tell, you know, 90s Shane, early days Shane, is focus on the thing that's driving your revenue and do that almost to ad nauseum, even boredom if you have to, until you reach a point where you can comfortably financially invest profits into the next phase. What I see happening in a lot of agencies that happen with me is the comparison is the thief of joy thing.
Mm-hmm.
They look at the agency that's 10 years ahead of them and they go, I want to be that. And they want to skip all the stages that agency that's 10 years ahead of them went through, all the pain they went through, all the learning they went through. They just want to skip it all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love thinking back and telling agents to go look at the history of Starbucks. In the early 80s, there was like 7 stores. Like 40 years ago, it was like 7
Mm-hmm.
stores. Like that's not a long time. And you
Right.
really, really think about Starbucks doesn't look today or didn't look then what it looks like today. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
just magically appear.
Right.
These businesses that you look at some in these insurance agencies that you look at, that you kind of derail yourself by playing the comparison game. Most of those agencies have been doing it a whole lot longer than you have. Some of them have been doing it for multiple generations. And you're trying to just be there. You're just trying to poof, done. Like, I'm there. And you're like, that's just not real.
Right.
And I think, EasyLinks, the founder of EasyLinks, Nog Ryo, was the one that really showed me this. Unfortunately, it was about 15 years into my career. I was trying to convince him to get into the management system business when he was about 3 years into the comparative rating game. I was trying to convince him to do my website. I was trying to convince him to do management system. I was trying to convince him to do commercial lines rating. And Nog was just like auto home, rating, auto home. And in about 7 years, he owned 80% of the comparative, the real-time comparative rating game.
Yeah.
And then he built a management system, and he built other features. And his time to market was a fraction of the time that it took a traditional software vendor, because he focused on this really high revenue margin business that he figured out he could be the king of that. And I think independent agencies can learn from that, and we need to be better at things like that. Like, if you're a personal lines experience guy, then do that and be super profitable. And then if you want to get in commercial, get in commercial once you have excess profits to hire a commercial lines team. That's where we go wrong. We try to be everything to everyone, and we try to be like that third, fourth generation agency across town in our third year in business. And that's where I think we go off the rails more than anything.
Yeah. Stop chasing so many things. Stop chasing all the different things. Focus on the revenue generation. Get enough excess revenue to then invest in that other side project.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well said. I agree. So, well, let's wrap up with this. Let's wrap up with, where can people find you, find your organization?
Absolutely. Well, you can reach me at by email at shane@integrapartnernetwork.com. And you can find us online on our website, integrapartnernetwork.com. You can also cross-reference another podcast. We have a podcast called iaforward.com, where a fairly frequent guest on our podcast is none other than Bo Pilgrim, founder of
I think I'm the reigning return.
You are the reigning. You're the reigning record holder. You keep beating your record every time you come on, so iaforward.com or iaforward podcast on any of your podcast players. If you didn't hear me talk enough today, you can continue to hear me talk over there as well.
Indeed. Well, thank you again, Shane, for coming. And if you're watching and this episode resonates with you, please share it with a founder that you know that needs to hear it, and then also, or an agency owner that also needs to just hear this, to learn just that in their day-to-day struggle they're going through, they're not alone, and that they can learn from the other stories of people that we'll have here on this podcast. And also make sure that you subscribe to it.
Thank you, Bo. Appreciate the time today.